Pokemon Day has come and gone, and with it, confirmation that we still have a little wait before the release of Pokemon Legends ZA. I'm okay with this. Game Freak, take all the time you need. In the meantime, a bunch of events were announced on Pokemon Day for existing games, and I'm sure there will be more throughout the year. One thing that wasn't announced during the Pokemon Presents, however, was a new distribution of a shiny locked Pokemon. Don't get me wrong, we've been spoiled lately with the distribution of several previously shiny locked mons through Pokemon Home, but there was always hope in the community for more. The release of Shiny Koraidon and Shiny Miraidon, or even the Shiny Treasures of Ruin mons many thought were on the cards, given Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are coming up to their 3-year anniversary later this year. So while we wait to see what's in store for us next, this is the perfect time to go through the list of remaining shiny locked Pokemon. Now this video will be in two parts. In the first part, I'll cover the list of remaining shiny locked Pokemon, while in part 2, I'll go through the list of Pokemon that can be shiny, but not obtainable in any way with your name as the original trainer. So if you don't want to miss that, hit that subscribe button and keep an eye out in the future. Let's start the list of shiny locked Pokemon with none other than Victini. Victini is now the only Gen 5 Pokemon that still has a shiny lock, thanks to the recent Shiny Meloetta and Shiny Keldeo home events, as well as the previous Japanese Shiny Genesect event of 2013. While it's still possible even today to catch your own OT Victini from Liberty Island in the original Pokemon Black and White games using the DNS Wi-Fi exploit, that is where the shiny locking of Victini began and still remains. Will we see the lock removed before the end of this decade, possibly as a reward for finishing the home decks of future Gen 5 remakes? We'll have to wait and see. Next up, if you want to be technical, is Ash Greninja. Now there are two types of Greninja. One is your regular standard Greninja, and the other is a Greninja with the ability Battle Bond, which in Gen 7 allows it to transform into Ash Greninja when it knocks out an opponent, but the battle isn't over yet. Now you were able to get the Battle Bond Greninja by completing the Pokemon Sun and Moon demo on the 3DS, but sadly it was shiny locked. While it's not technically a boxable form or a Mega Transformation, with Legends ZA set in Kalos and also bringing back Mega Evolutions, maybe it's finally time for this lock to be removed. The same can also be said for another Kalos Pokemon, Pokeball Pattern Vivillon, which has not been catchable in any game at the making of this video and has only ever had a non-shiny distribution. Now this used to be true for Fanti Pattern Vivillon before that lock was removed, with it being catchable in Scarlet and Violet, so let's hope that now we have confirmation Vivillon is returning in Legends EA, that we can finally plug that gap in the decks. Now sticking with Gen 6, we have the Mythicals Hooper and Volcanion, which have never been available as a shiny, despite how amazing they look, by the way. Look at that gold. Unlike the third Gen 6 Mythical, Diancie, which had a brief mainline game shiny event in 2015 in Japan and 2016 in South Korea. I imagine we'll be able to catch their non-shiny versions in Legends ZA, similar to how the Gen 4 Mythicals you can catch in Legends Arceus, despite them also being shiny locked in that game. So yeah, just don't expect these ones to be shiny in Legends ZA either. Most likely one, both, or if we're lucky, all three of these Mythicals will be gifts for completing the ZA home decks whenever we get that event given to us. Next up is Cosmog and by extension Cosmoem, which, unlike their final forms in Sword and Shield's Dynamax adventures, have never ever been available as a shiny. I honestly can't see any upcoming future event where Game Freak will give these out, so we might have to wait a little while longer before such a time comes. Magearna, also of Gen 7, is an odd one because it has two boxable forms, its regular form and its original color form. Regular non-shiny Magearna you can still get by scanning a specific QR code in Ultra Sun or Ultra Moon once completing the game, while non-shiny original color Magearna you can obtain once per home account by completing the National Pokedex in home up to Eternatus. Again, being a Gen 7 Pokemon like Cosmog, we likely won't see Magearna obtainable as a shiny for a while, unless we're thrown some other curveball event. Now hear me out. Given the fact that shiny Pokemon are so easy to obtain now in recent entries, I personally would love to see shiny Magearna given as a reward for transferring 500 shinies, for example, into Pokemon Home. It's not the easiest task, but at the same time, it's also never been easier to do so than on the Switch. I know it's a hot take and also a bit rich coming from me, who already has a complete own OT National Shiny Living Dex, so I'm keen to know your thoughts on that one. Marshadow is the only other shiny locked Gen 7 Mythical, which we likely won't see shiny for a while. Also, this has to be the worst shiny of all time when it's standing still, but look at it when it attacks. How good is the difference? I really want this as a shiny. Please, Game Freak. Moving on. Again, if we're being technical, Gigantamax Melmetal cannot be shiny under any circumstances at the time of this recording. The Melmetals you can transfer from Pokemon Go can't be given the G-Max factor at all in Sword and Shield. The Max Soup simply won't work. We've had the non-shiny G-Max distribution a few years ago, so maybe one day we'll get the shiny version. Looking at you, Shiny Home Meltan. In terms of Gen 8, the Cubfu you get given in the Sword and Shield Isle of Armor DLC can never be shiny, as well as the Cubfu you can catch in Scarlet and Violet, thus making shiny Urshifu unobtainable also. I had high hopes for shiny hunting this in Scarlet and Violet, but sadly it was not to be. The same can also be said for Glacier and Spectria, which can be caught in both Gen 8 and Gen 9, but are also sadly both shiny locked, as is the Calyrex you can catch in Sword and Shield's Crown Tundra DLC. Finally for Gen 8 is Zarude, which saw both its regular form and its Dada form given out during Sword and Shield's main run. I was hoping the shiny versions would have been given out as a home dex reward alongside shiny Keldeo, but sadly it wasn't to be. Again, I think this is another Pokemon we'll likely have to wait a little while longer for before we're able to get it as a shiny. Now Gen 9 is the most ridiculous of the gens, currently home to 20 shiny locked Pokemon. These include Blood Moon Ursaluna, which is shiny locked in Kitakami, roaming form Gimmighoul, which can't be caught at all in the mainline games and is shiny locked in Go at the time of this recording. The 4 Treasures of Ruin Pokemon, which are all shiny locked in Paldea, Koraidon and Miraidon, which are shiny locked in Area 0. The 6 Paradox Pokemon, which are ancient and future forms of the Gen 2 Legendary Beasts and the Gen 5 Swords of Justice trio respectively. The loyal 3 Pokemon found in Kitakami, their leader Pecharunt, as well as poor lonely Ogapon, and Terrapagus, which is shiny locked in the Area 0 Underdepths. And finally, if you want to feel inclusive, 7 of the 8 obtainable Cap Pikachu are shiny locked, with the Partner Cat Pikachu the only one obtainable technically as a shiny, although it doesn't have a shiny model due to it not originally intended to be shiny. So if we add up every Pokemon that is yet to be freed from the shackles of shiny locked prison, currently at the time of this recording there are 47 shiny locked Pokemon. Gotta catch them all, right? Will we see any of these Pokemon given out this year, obtainable in Pokemon Legends ZA, or given away at a later date? Only time will tell. Let me know your thoughts and what Pokemon you'd like to see obtainable as a shiny next. If you enjoyed this video and want to see part 2, where I go through all the shinies you can obtain, but not with your name as the original trainer, then subscribe and watch this space. My name's highly Instagram, but you can call me Matt, and as always, may all your shiny hunts be quick. Take care.